waking up thinking that it's got to be more to your life than it is, believe in your heart of hearts that it is. But to get to that life, you're going to have to jump.
Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve.
Welcome back to the Tridentlion Show. Here I have the great artist Aer Giaquinto, an up-and-coming entrepreneur slash artist slash full-time mom. So thank you, Aer, for being on our show.
Thanks for having me.
So I wanted to get it going with a couple questions to ask, because I'm sure there's some people out there that might be in a similar situation to you where they might have children, might have a full-time career even, and probably have a strong passion to do something like what you do, meaning art or whatever. So my first question is going to be, what do you feel to be the most challenging thing as an entrepreneur while also being a full-time stay-at-home mom?
Finding time to work on you, like work on your art and developing your brand and building yourself up as an artist. It's hard to prioritize when you're always at home to not always put the kids before everything.
Okay. And it seems like you have a really strong desire to balance both, still take care of the kids and make sure that all of their needs and accommodations and their day is filled with as much love and joy as possible you can instill in them, while also maintaining your patience. But so how do you balance both? What type of strategies do you use to actually do it? Because you're doing both. It's not like you're saying you would like to and you're not, because you actually are doing both. We see you have a website, we see you have art put out there, we see you are making time to do both. So how do you do it?
Just dedicate a little time every day. Consistency is key. So every day, you're going to need to put your kids to bed at a certain time. As soon as they go to bed, you go to work. And you work as long as you can for me, it's either until the baby wakes up and needs to eat to go back to sleep, or it's until I can't keep my eyes open any longer if he doesn't wake up that night. So it's just making sure you dedicate that time every single day.
Okay, so for you, the habit would be at night. So once you put the kids to bed, then it's go time. And you just put in as many hours as possible. And out of curiosity, how many hours do you put in a night?
It varies depending on when the baby wakes up. Sometimes he'll wake up at 12:30. Sometimes he won't wake up until 2:30 in the morning. So we usually get them to bed around 8:30. By 9:30, they're definitely finished going into their bedtime routine. So I usually work from 9:30 until 12:30 or 2:30 in the morning.
Wow. And there's probably some people out there that are saying, but, I really need to get this amount of sleep. I don't do well at night. Or people even on the opposites that say they can't get up early because they're not morning people. I mean, do you feel like those people are just making excuses? And, why are they acting like that?
No, I think people, when they're not really ready to step into what they want to do, they'll find any reason not to do it. But once you're ready to take that next step, once you're really ready to go after your dreams and go after your passion, you'll find the way to do it. Nothing will stop you. When during the day, I give everything to the kids, and then as soon as they go to bed, I make sure that time's for me.
So it seems like you're combating something. So I want to give a quick shout-out real quick. A quick shout-out to Steven Pressfield. To those of you that don't know who Steven Pressfield is the author of the wonderful book called The War of Art. Actually, yeah, it's The War of Art. I always confuse The War of Art and The Art of War. But yeah, it's The War of Art. So it's talking about battling with your your inner artist and with actually putting out work and dealing with the biggest enemy, as Stephen Pressfield puts it so elegantly in his book, resistance. Resistance is your number one enemy with dealing with battling yourself with actually accomplishing certain tasks that you want to achieve, goals that you have in mind, and he gears it specifically to artists. So for all you artists out there, I mean, I would say stop making excuses and, break through the barrier of resistance that's preventing you from achieving great things. I mean, Ariel, have you read Stephen Pressfield's book?
Yeah, I've read The War of Art, and he's dead on with it. You just have to be aware of the different forms resistance takes, and don't let yourself fall into the traps that you set for yourself. You don't need a set amount of sleep. That's why I say I work some nights until I can't keep my eyes open any longer. Sometimes that's only 11:30. Like, if I have been working until 2:30 every day and then getting up at 6:30 with the kids, like, some nights it's only until 11:30 that I work. But you just have to give it your all and know your limits too. Like, don't push yourself so far that you burn out and you're not able to keep the consistency going.
And when you say to a lot of people out there that make excuses specifically with needing more sleep or like complaining about not having the energy, would you say that they need to maybe like a little boot camp and like maybe they should experience what it's like to deal with a newborn or like a young child that is like nursing and wakes up every couple hours in the night, and as a mother some nights you don't get more than an hour's sleep in a row, so there's no consistency with sleep, and I'm sure that might have made you a little bit tougher mentally and also more resilient with dealing with fatigue and tiredness. I mean, would you agree?
I've definitely become accustomed to being sleep deprived, if you want to say that. I mean, the youngest one, he's 1.5 years now, and I have not stopped waking up in the middle of the night since for about 3 years now.
Wow.
So a little over 3 years, 3.5 years almost. So from the oldest one to the youngest one, I was one right after the other. So that was my boot camp, I guess. I haven't slept through a night in 3.5 years. So I guess that's one of the reasons. But I think anybody, if you're really passionate enough about it, you'll find the time. And even like when I'm sleeping, if I'm working on a project, I'm working on painting that week, I throw myself into it. I'm learning during the day, maybe when I'm with the kids, and maybe I'll have some type of podcast on in the background, or some type of class on in the background, and I'll be learning during the day. I have myself completely immersed in whatever I'm doing, and then even when I'm sleeping, I'm about what I'm working on.
Wow, I mean, I think especially if you start dreaming about something and you do it during the day, I mean, I feel like that might be a sign that might be something that you should pursue. Because I feel like a lot of people nowadays kind of run around, they do things that it's not really for them. They're just doing it because they either maybe feel pressured into doing it from somebody else, or they have this romantic idea of what they want to be like, but that's not really their true DNA. So do you feel like having dreams about it, having like this relentless energy to constantly pursue it, is a good sign that you're actually doing what you're passionate about and that you should be doing with your life because it's what you love?
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of people will follow what they tell themselves is their passion, right? They say, oh, this is what I really want to do with my life. Say, like, I got my certification to be a teacher. I don't really want to teach. I mean, I would do it because it's a safe job, supposedly. People choose the safe route, I think.
This romantic idea of the safe route, I think, is not in the time period that we currently live in. I think we live in a time period where we are more globally connected, and I feel like we have a better potential at becoming successful on our own pursuits and our own ventures. Now, it's obviously not for everybody. Not everybody is cut out to do that and to follow it. Some people are meant to be great employees, and I am grateful for people that are great employees, and my employers throughout the years have been grateful for me to be an employee. And sometimes you can be an employee for some part of your life and maybe a business owner for some, but it definitely doesn't have to be for everybody, one or the other. But going back to talking about teaching and talking about being benefits, a safe route, the reality is there is such a large amount of people that pursue jobs like that. Like being the jobs that I've worked, I've talked to people from all over this country and all over the world. And a lot of people have the same romantic idea. Let me just get this secure job where I'll be a teacher, or I'll be a nurse, or I'll be this and that. And all those jobs are very necessity. They're very valuable, and I am grateful that people do that. But when you have so many people going for the same job, it's really hard to get a job. Because I'm sure you've noticed handing out your resumes to various schools, handing out your resumes to various companies for your experience with secretary. A lot of times, the pay was too low, and it's too low because there's so many people that are competing for the job that it devalues it in a way so that the companies will lower how much they're willing to pay them, because if someone is willing to take, let's say, 45 grand and someone else comes in and they can offer them 40, if that person says, yeah, I'll take 40, well, then the company or the school is going to save money. So, I mean, have you felt any type of struggle with handing out your resume with these quote-unquote safe jobs that you have been pursuing? Have you found them to almost not be secure because they could be very difficult to find, and when you do, kind of low paying?
Oh, yeah. When I was looking for a job as an assistant, I worked as an executive assistant for a while. When I was looking for a job as an assistant, I have many years of experience, went to a job interview, and they're only willing to pay $23,000 a year for full-time.
Wow.
So, yeah, they definitely have lowered the pay from when I was doing it. And then for teaching, last year they were paying $37,000. This year they said $40,000 because they put it up because nobody wants to do the job for $37,000.
Wow, so they actually raised it because the prices were too low, that it wasn't worth it for people in Florida. So that's interesting that they raised it. And it's a good thing that they did, because I think teachers deserve to get paid a decent salary because the price of things has gone up. If you're making under $30,000, I really don't think that's a lot of money. That's barely anything. Maybe if you're living at home with no bills, but when you have a family to support, that's just not cutting it.
No, it's definitely not cutting it.
Unless you have no interest in savings or paying off debt. But if you have like student loans, and if you have like card notes, which a lot of people do, like things like that, like just making that amount of money is just paying the bills to get by. You're living paycheck to paycheck. And the reality is, we have the ability to become financially free. We have the ability to become financially abundant with certain knowledge and tools to acquire. And one of the things, Eric, would be starting your own thing. Because a lot of people think they got to pick one or the other. I got to either do this thing or I got to sacrifice it completely and not make any money and just do this passion thing until it makes me money. But I think that's belligerently, I think that's a fool's path. I think that's a big mistake. I think there's no problem with doing both. And a lot of times when you're taking on jobs as employees, it's a cool way to perceive it, and this is how I like to perceive it. Perceive it as almost like a school. Like, what can I learn from this job? Like, what can I learn from how I deal with different managers, or if I'm a manager myself, or how do I, how can I learn from this CEO of this company that I work for, or things like that. So sometimes if you view it as like a learning experience, you can almost get more fun out of it, more enjoyment out of it. You feel less trapped in it. But definitely the more streams of income, or the more potential streams for income, is definitely better than just relying on one. So if you have one job that's paying the bills, get home, start working. Like, as you can see, Aer here, as you do, you're putting in the work. You're putting in the time and the effort to actually get these things done, which is great on your free time. And eventually, I have faith that you can outwork risk, and if you continue to work and be persistent and never give up, I think success is inevitable with persistence and applied action, and also evolution through your process. And what I mean by evolution through your process, constantly grow, learn. Don't be romantic as to how you think it's going to work out. Be willing to adapt. Be willing to adapt to the environment, the circumstances, to be able to be flexible in your approach with the end goal in mind. And the end goal in mind is to be, I think, based on what we're talking about, living a life on your terms, doing exactly what you would love to do with your life.
Yeah, definitely. That's where you want to be. But you also have to be self-aware.
What do you mean by self-aware?
Like aware of what your strengths are and aware of if you are a person that's the type of person that wants to be an entrepreneur or not, like you were saying.
Of course. And I'm a big fan of Gary Vaynerchuk. A big shout out to him. He is a huge inspiration of mine. I think he is one of the most valuable virtual mentors that I've ever listened to, especially in our modern time and the time that we're living in. And he touches on that exactly. There's a lot of people running around nowadays where they feel like, he says, they're wantrepreneurs. They have this romantic idea that they want to be the next Mark Zuckerberg or this or that. And because our economy is good, there's a lot of people with money, a lot of venture capitalists with money, but there's a lot of people that are not cut out for pursuing their own business. And self-awareness is a good point to make. I think we all need to, look in the mirror and really look in the mirror, not just for brushing our teeth, look in and really identify who we are and what we want. Because the reality of pursuing something of your own, starting your own business, it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of energy because we have our lives we have to live, and if you're going to put in that extra work, that's like working overtime every single day if you're persistent, or 5 days a week, or however many hours you put into it. It's literally like overtime. But I think the idea is definitely to do that overtime, as we're talking about, on your passion and something you love. Because if you love it, it's not really a job, I think. I think if you really love it, then it's almost like, I don't want to say a hobby, because hobby doesn't make it sound as serious, but it's just something that you love to do and something that you enjoy every second of it. And I think that might be your biggest asset. I mean, for you, Ari, you love art, as me as well. We have different mediums. You like painting and mostly in digital art. Me, I like music and writing. But if you do what you love, I truly believe that any challenges or adversity that you face in your path to success, you would be able to persevere beyond any adversity. Because you just love doing it. It won't even feel like a challenge. It'll just be like, oh, cool, I just learned something new about what I love,
Yeah.
So have you noticed some adversity that you have maybe faced in your journey to developing your art and your graphic art and your video design that might have seemed like a really big challenge to others, where they might have just quit, but you were like, let me just figure this out, and then you did?
Oh, totally. Especially with the digital art. There's so many technological things that you have to go through to be able to do some of these programs.
I can relate to that with Logic Pro.
Yeah, and you have to. It's a big challenge to learn a lot of it, especially if you don't go to school for it. But you don't need school if it's what you're passionate about.
Yeah, me and my friend Artist Aer were talking about that exactly. Was because we were talking about school. I have my bachelor's. You have your bachelor's. My friend Ferris, I think he has his bachelor's. He's got some schooling. I don't really know. But you could definitely tell that for me and him, schooling is not really for us. And he asked me, he's like, what would you go to school for? And I was like, that's a good question. And I guess if I had to take out a crazy loan and take out a lot of money, it'll be for something that, and I was thinking, and I said coding. And it was interesting that I said coding because I have no interest in coding. I am not cut out for it. Of course, if I had to, for whatever reason, I could learn it and master it, and I would probably be really good at it. But I took it in college, a couple courses, and it's just not really for me whatsoever. And I know that it's a very valuable position. I really like coders, and generally they get paid on average pretty decently in our society, and they're definitely demanded. So I said, coding, go to school for. And then it hit me, and I'm like, coding, maybe I'm saying coding because I see a good return, but I need the structure of school for it because I have no interest in it. Because if you do what you love, you create your own structure around it. When you're on Facebook, you're following pages about your passion. Like for Aer, you love art. I bet on Instagram you follow artists. I bet on YouTube you watch art videos. I bet on Google, when you have free time, you're just learning about art. So you create your own structure and you learn a lot more efficiently, I feel, when you're doing what you love. And there's so many platforms out there that you can learn from. Like, as you know, me and you, like, lynda.com, udemy.com, these are great platforms. And what I find them to be great is that the courses are really inexpensive. They could even be free. Like, I watched Building a Personal Brand class with Gary Vaynerchuk, and it was very valuable content because it was very relevant to today's world. And it was for like less than $30. There's no like 3,000 loan semester or 10 grand loan semester. It was literally less than $30 for extremely valuable information. And sometimes these people on Udemy, of course, check the credibility and what they've done, because some people are all talk. They're not actually practitioners, which is kind of annoying when you have people that are like, oh, look at me, I'm a 19-year-old successful entrepreneur that's going to teach you how to do it, when all they're doing is giving you motivation advice, but they don't actually have any track record of success themselves besides telling you to be successful. Like, I think that's crazy. They're not really credible, but you can find people that are credible on these sources for very inexpensive, and a lot of times they might even be more credible than the professors at the college, because their material might be a couple years back. Because for a traditional education system, I might be talking out my ass here, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. With a traditional education system, the way they evolve their education system might be at a slower rate than what's happening in modern day time.
Yeah, because you're talking to the practitioners and not just the people teaching the material.
Yes.
Right, so you're getting straight information.
And not reliable and not very like relevant. Because when I was taking my courses online, Air, like my whole bachelor's degree was online, and I took some marketing courses, but a lot of it was just like blah 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 terms. A lot of it was just, and then regurgitating the terms. It wasn't like how to actually apply it. Maybe a better school. Like, I wish they had more of a mentorship nowadays, and I would love to have a personal mentor. I kind of have this idea that you could have virtual mentors by just following and consuming their content online. I think that's a better route to go, through mentorship and through being a practitioner. So maybe a great class would be like, rather than like learning about, let's say, marketing, and then regurgitating like what terms are and like what this is, or what like an anchor text is, or something like that. Instead, like, actually apply the material and actually go out and do it. I think that'll be a much more effective class.
Yeah, I think online learning there's going to be a whole new revolution with online learning with people. Even like just being able to take a workshop from somebody who is mind-blowingly successful, and they can give this workshop to so many people. They can give this information to so many people so quickly and so efficiently. It's amazing what you can do with online learning. You were talking about Gary Vaynerchuk. He can. How much would it cost to do a mentorship with him, like a workshop with him, versus taking a course that he can give out to tons of people online? It makes it more cost effective also at the same time.
And it all depends on the specific so-called successful person. I feel like there's a lot of people that do have success, but I think they could be greedy. I think they definitely could be greedy, almost as colleges can be, and to an extent. Like, a lot of individuals out there have like mastermind programs and things like that can cost $10,000 to $20,000. I think that's a little overboard. I think that's a little overkill, and I think that's a little bit greedy. But to reach their own, like, everyone has their price. It's a lot more humble and a lot more receptive to offer content more so in a way for free. Like, we're on the subject of Gary Vaynerchuk. He talks about his concept of jab, jab, right hook is in one of his. He uses boxing terms. So the idea of that is, put out free content, and then the right hook is going for the sale. And the idea is to build up so much equity, so much value. You definitely want the price of what you're offering these people, the price to be way lower than what you're giving them. Whatever you're giving them in value needs to be so much higher than the price. But sometimes, to back what I was saying about mastermind programs, which are great, just I definitely, as a consumer, would like to receive more value than what the cost would be. And sometimes with programs like that, and even with college, the price can exceed the actual value of what you get.
Yeah, definitely. I'm still paying back my student loans.
Fortunately, I don't have any, but you're almost done though, right?
No.
No?
Not even close.
You should. What would be really cool is you should take your balance, if it's 10 or 20 grand, whatever, and you should literally just make a painting that says like F student loans or something, and then like call it modern art and make it cost the same price as your student loans.
That would be very nice.
That'd be amazing if someone bought it. I have another question for you, Aer. It's because you're doing a lot of mediums with art, which is great, and it's kind of nice to get, more of a variety. And as you know, I do writing and music, and for me, I find when I kind of get writer's block or tired of one, you can hop onto the other medium, and it kind of leaves your mind fresh. It kind of leaves it like with some nice flavor. It helps leave some great diversity in your approach to art. Period. So this is my question. What is your favorite art medium?
I guess it depends on the day.
Okay, so what about for Monday?
Let's see. Well, typically it's going to be painting. The downside of painting is that you have all the cleanup after painting. So, I do love painting. I like getting messy. I like the whole process of it. I like to be able to do things with my hands, and it's very, you can feel the medium, there's just nothing like it. But then you have digital painting, which is nice because then you don't have to clean out your brushes and clean off the floor that you got your paint on, and
if you paint something that you don't really like, you can kind of just like
you can
wipe it off.
It's a lot less of a investment in that sense also, because you don't feel so much like you have to salvage the work. You don't get so attached to it if you make something that it just doesn't work out. You can trash it and start over, start new with less invested. So I do like digital art for that purpose. And I also do like switching mediums a lot because it keeps the creative space open. It keeps it so that you don't feel like, say you don't want to paint one day, you just really don't feel like going out into your 95 degrees garage studio to go paint.
Oh my
you can you can stay in the nice air conditioning and work on digital animations, right, that day. It can block that resistance that would be there by allowing you to have other routes to go to if you don't feel up to it.
Imagine if it's like raining outside, and it's like raining and raining and raining and raining, and you get that like cozy feeling that you're like, ooh, I'm gonna be inside, it's raining. It's not like freezing cold, it's not so hot out. It's like a great temperature, and you go inside and you're working on videos in the rain. I mean, do you feel like sometimes that can, I might be a stupid question, but let's just ask it anyways. Do you feel like your environment, being inside on a rainy day or, being outside painting on a hot day, do you feel like sometimes your environment can alter your inspiration or actually affect your artwork itself?
Of course. Like, you're not going to create the same art when right after you did yoga and you're nice and showered. And
okay, so let me put an example. Like, you're not going to make the same art if you do yoga, have like a delicious smoothie, and do maybe 20 minutes of meditating and then paint, compared to when you've been, juggling the kids with them pulling on you, changing like 80 diapers in a day, and then like you finally get them to bed and they're still screaming.
Somebody poops on you.
Yeah, and then vomits.
Someone pulled your hair out.
Mm-hmm. So that artwork might be a little bit more maybe aggressive than yoga.
Maybe. Yeah, your mind state affects your art, definitely. And I also think that's how that can also transfer to the people that consume your art, right? So if you're in a certain mind state when you create art, I feel like it's almost like a a portal into your emotions. Not, I don't know if that's the right word to use there, but like a way for them to see into the feeling of the time that you created the art.
I totally agree with that. And I think anyone that doesn't really agree with that doesn't have emotions. Because what is music? If you hear music, you feel something. If you look at a painting, you feel something. It can even be anger. Some people, when they look at modern art today, they look at it and they get angry because
That's fucking stupid.
This is not art. But we actually were just having this conversation. It was about the artist Andy Warhol, how he was very controversial. A lot of people hated his art, and some people loved it. But I used to not like him, and I still don't like his paintings. Paintings are subjective. I do not like it, but I do like what he did. What he was doing was redefining what art is. And I think that is something that we should all strive to do, because our greatest asset is our uniqueness, because it's something new. You can't just do what someone else did because someone already did that. They've already won that medal. And even if you kind of are like that, you're just like going off of them. But you can be inspired by others, but you have your originality. Be you. Have your uniqueness. So, I mean, do you think that might be our greatest asset as artists in general, is our uniqueness and our individuality?
Yeah, your creativity is unique to you. So no matter what you create, nobody else can create exactly that thing, right? So, I mean, maybe they can copy something that you already did, but they will never be able to create exactly like the same feeling as what you were doing, right?
So now we're going to go into a subjective question, Aer, because we're on the topic of art. You know, we were just talking about Andy Warhol. Like, we like what he did, but I mean, I'm not a big fan of the art itself, and I think you're on the same page of that.
It's not. I wouldn't hang it in my living room.
And what's a painting that you would hang in your living room? What are some artists either that are no longer alive or ones that are alive that you not only feel inspired by, but also really, really just appreciate and like the art itself for the art?
Oh, there's so many.
So let's go with
so hard to choose.
All right, top 3 or 5.
So right now I really like James R. I think Eads, Eads. It looks like James Reads when you look him up. I think he did that on purpose so people remember his name. But he's amazing. He's like I don't want to say like a modern day Van Gogh, but he has like that style to him that I just really love. And I love Van Gogh, of course. So maybe part of it stems from that. Then I really like Thomas Shahan, I think. He's got he does printmaking. He carves into wood and puts ink on it and makes prints from that. So I think that's a very cool style that I really like.
That is cool. How about this question? It's similar. It's not specific artists. It's not specific this. But it is another subjective question.
Okay.
In your opinion, what is great art? Or what do you define to be a masterpiece?
I mean, even a 5-year-old can make a masterpiece. It's just something...
I want to hear more about this. Because I do... Please tell me. A 5-year-old...
Yeah.
Well, maybe. I see some brilliant 5-year-old that are composers and stuff, but...
You know,
but what makes it?
It's when you can make people feel something. We become so desensitized living in our world. We're constantly bombarded by advertising and just stimulation in general. If you can make people stop and feel something, anything, whatever you're going for, if you can do that, then it's what I would say is good.
Captivation?
If you captivation is a feeling. Like, if you're captivated by it, that's definitely a feeling.
Like, if you can captivate someone where you pause it where they pause for a moment of time and just consume your art for your art.
Yeah.
But I go about the day listening to different music, different audiobooks, different podcasts, reading different blogs and articles.
And do they make you feel something?
Some do and some don't.
Okay, so when the ones that make you feel something, then I would say that they did their job. Like, they were doing what they set out to do. But are they really
a quote-unquote masterpiece? Because maybe I'm being romantic in the idea of a masterpiece, But when I think of a masterpiece, I think of like that is like for you the top of the list thing. You know, like for maybe for like a fantasy book, I'm pretty sure you can go on a whim and say that you're a masterpiece fantasy book for you would be Harry Potter. 'Cause I know you like Harry Potter.
Yeah.
And maybe also like the Lord of the Rings series.
Yeah.
Like those are brilliantly done fantasy series, and they're just absolutely fantastic. As opposed to maybe some other fantasy movies or books that you may have read that have been good, but not like legendary or timeless. You know.
Okay.
So do you think I might just be being romantic about a masterpiece?
Maybe then instead of just, okay, good art, it makes you feel something, right? That's a good artist if they're able to make you feel something. Maybe a masterpiece, you could say then, is the one that makes you feel something and it sticks with you. It stays with you, that feeling, right? So if you think back to it, it can put you into that place again, right? Think of, do you have a favorite painting?
Do I have a painting?
Yeah.
Famous painting?
Because I know you used to study fine art. So.
Yeah, and I do like fine arts. I'm actually somebody that can go to a gallery, sit there, consume the paintings, and really give you a descriptive analysis and breakdown of how I feel and think. And
you're very aware of how it affects you, the art.
yeah, and I can appreciate it and look at it and see the different techniques from different art that I've produced myself. What was the question again? Sorry, I blanked. Because I'm thinking about
like
me at a museum right now. I'm like, I'm romanticizing.
What is your favorite painting?
Oh yeah, the favorite painting. You know why I blanked? Because I don't have a favorite painting. Okay. That's exactly why. I'm thinking about me in a museum, looking at paintings, and I'm like,
think of one of the masters.
You want to give me you want me to say out a name that someone that stuck with me in my mind and that is coming to my mind right now, Jackson Pollock.
Okay.
I don't even really like his paintings, and I don't hate his paintings. He's just somebody that really, really stood out to me, and there were just layers, and a lot of people didn't think that was really art because it looks like he just would take blue and then like maybe gold and then something else, you know, maybe like pink, like at the bottom, and they're all like fading together. But I did notice, I was in an art school, and we were in a museum in New York City in Manhattan, and we were looking at a painting like this, and I was like, I was almost like, this is like stupid, blah, 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 but my art teacher was really emphasizing on, how does this make you feel? How does this make you feel? You know, blah, blah, blah. So what I would write it off at first, but then when I was looking at it, you know, I just sit there myself and really just see how it's affecting my emotions. And being around those paintings definitely do make you feel something. Yeah. They absolutely do. And they made me feel something. And it kind of like almost impressed me in a way. I don't know if it was my teacher planting seeds in my head saying like, this will make you feel something, then I did, which is very much possible. But I definitely did feel something, and that definitely came to mind. If I had to pick a modern artist, I'm grateful that my mind brought to it, definitely going to be Alex Grey. Definitely going to be Alex Grey. Absolutely. I think that it is wonderful that he is one of the first artists to be able to detail and be so, you know, intricate with designing the landscapes that he's trying to achieve. Because as you know, Alex Grey, for those of you that don't know, Alex Grey produces artwork that a lot of people consider psychedelic art, because it's going to be very unique. It's going to be almost like have that like trippy look to it, but it's not abstract, and that's what's unique. It's like, it is, but it's not. It's very detailed. It's very organized. There's a lot of like geometry in it, and it's very, very mapped out and well done. It's not just like, you know, like a smidge or like a swipe on a canvas that was a bunch of rainbow colors. No, it's like intricately designed with complex geometry in it. And I think he is doing a fantastic job because he's combining two elements. He's combining a logical and a non-logical, and he kind of combines them into two, almost like the creative hemisphere of the brain and the logical hemisphere of the brain. He's got like the creative side, which is the unique colors, the unique concept, the unique design, and the logical aspect. How does all these unique designs come together? How are they all connected? And how can I build almost like a flower of a painting that one thing branches from another, and it makes this beautiful piece.
Yeah, he is amazing, and he does bring back the psychedelic space into something that people can visualize also. I think that's something that is very difficult to do, and he can definitely make people feel something with his work in that. Would you consider him a master?
I would.
Okay, so what makes you think that he's a master?
It's in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah.
And in my eyes, he is.
Okay, so there you go. You have your answer right there. What makes it a masterpiece? It's in the eye of the beholder.
I know, but I'm asking you what yours is. That's what I said. I said, in your opinion, if you rewind my podcast about 15 minutes, it says, in your opinion, what is great art or masterpiece material? If you go back 15 minutes, by the way, and I didn't say in your opinion, in parentheses, in your opinion, then, Aer, you have every right to yell at me, but I don't think you will.
I do think that even a 5-year-old can have a masterpiece. It just has to be something that makes you feel something and have that feeling stay with you.
Stick with you.
Yeah.
Awesome. And this is going to be a fun question. As you know, I have my book, 14 Real Life Superpowers, and it's all about real life superpowers that we have within us, not going to be flying or stuff like that, even though once we learn how to fly, as our brains develop, and we might be possible. I'm not saying we can't. I don't know if we can, but if we know how to fly, that'll be great. But superpowers like courage, knowledge, imagination, patience, gratitude, that 14 different ones, those are just some examples. And you've read my book, so I'm curious. If you had to pick one superhero power that is defined within my books, like real life superpowers, what would you feel to be the most present superpower within you?
Can you list all of them for me?
Sure. There's giving, so that's definitely a superhero power, giving. You have receiving, the ability to receive. Another one's going to be courage. Another one's knowledge, imagination, patience, gratitude, creativity, awareness, communication, technology. And when I say technology, I don't mean actual technology. I mean using technology as an extension of ourselves. So, like, if you want to be a motivational speaker, one of the superpowers that you have is the ability to use technology, use things like social media platforms, use blogs, different mediums to get your message across. So that's what I mean like that. So, there's 11 out of the 14, so we don't have to give away all of them for the book. We'll leave those last 3 as surprises. Right. So, out of those, which one would you pick?
I think you said awareness.
Awareness?
Yeah.
Like self-awareness or just all types of awareness?
I think self-awareness, I suppose. I think I always try to see... I think it's my biggest challenge and also my strongest superpower at the same time, because I'm always trying to see other perspectives. So understanding what makes people act a certain way, maybe trying to understand their story better so that I can integrate that into my own life. I also try to be more mindful myself too. I don't know if people out there listening to this have been stay-at-home parents before, but it is extremely trying on your patience, and mindfulness is really the only thing that gets me through the day, is being mindful of my emotions with my kids, right? So being very aware of the way that I feel in every moment, being aware of my true self. So I don't know. I think that would be my greatest superpower and also my biggest challenge, at least at this point in my life.
Aer, thank you so much. Awesome meetup. This was great. Thanks for coming on the podcast, Aer, so much. For everyone that's listening, if there's any way you want to contact either one of us, it'll all be in the description to our websites, all our social media accounts. Please, please, please check out Aer Giaquinto's art. It is badass. It is up and coming. It is amazing. It's unique. It's something you've never seen before. It's something that's going to open your imagination, open your hearts, and it's definitely going to fill you with a lot of joy, inspiration, and light. So, again, thank you, Aer.
Believe it or not, every successful person in this world has jumped. If you're waking up thinking that there's got to be more to your life than it is, believe in your heart of hearts that it is. But to get to that life, you're going to have to jump.
Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve.
You've got to identify that gift. Maybe this person right here has identified their gift and is living in their gift. Because your Bible says, it's your Bible, says your gift will make room for you. Your gift. But the only way for you to soar is you got to jump. You got to take that gift that's packed away on your back. You got to jump off that cliff and pull that cord.
Because it will reveal to you why it is true. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve. Discovery in the simplest terms possible, because it will reveal to you why it is true. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve.
Waking up thinking that it's got to be more to your life than it is. Believe in your heart of hearts that it is. But to get to that life, you're going to have to do it.
Because it will reveal to you why it is true. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve.